the former president's hush money criminal trial, week 3 of proceedings, week 2 of the prosecution's case. Today on a social network, Trump reposted a clip of Senator Lindsey Graham telling CNN's Dana Bash that all the Trump trials are political and, in the senator's words, selective prosecution. Just ahead tonight, we're going to hear from a group of undecided women voters in the key state of North Carolina and get their take on this trial. But first, CNN's Kara Scannell joins us with what we can expect for tomorrow. So who's starting on the stand tomorrow, and do we know who's next?
So on the stand tomorrow will still be Michael Cohen's banker. He started testifying on Friday, and he was beginning to give the jury a sense of the documents in this case because as he testified, Michael Cohen was in a hurry to set up bank accounts for 2 shell companies. One of those companies, Essential Consultants, is the one that ultimately paid the $130,000 payment to Stormy Daniels, the hush money. So tomorrow I expect the jury will see these wire transfers, and it will give them a sense of how this happened, all before Michael Cohen is even called to the witness stand, but setting up some of the documents in this case. And there is a period in this trial, this is about falsified documents, where we're going to have to see some documents and not the sort of narrative testimony that we got from David Pecker.
And the idea that this was rushed is important for the prosecution to kind of show that the urgency of it before the election.
Exactly. The first one that Michael Cohen was setting up was to handle the reimbursement to AMI for paying Karen McDougal. Ultimately, AMI called it off and said they didn't want to do the reimbursement. The second one was for the Stormy Daniels payment. And we've seen the creation of these companies through the documents on Friday, and now we'll get the sense of the money trail from here.
I want to bring in also former federal prosecutor, CNN senior legal analyst Ellie Honig, and best-selling author Jeffrey Toobin. Jeff, who would you expect to take the stand next?
They are working up to Michael Cohen. I don't know if he will be next, but he will be soon. But this testimony, it's not the most thrilling stuff in the world to see the checks and the financial transactions put into evidence. But this is going to corroborate Michael Cohen. It's going to be very important testimony that the prosecution is going to say, look, Michael Cohen didn't invent these transactions. Here are the money that changed hands. Here is how it was done. Here it was when it was done. So it's very important that this testimony come before Michael Cohen because it will corroborate him, at least in part, when he does take the stand.
And that's important, Ellie, given his credibility problems.
Yeah, look, the goal of prosecutors, the task that prosecutors have to deal with is they have to support Michael Cohen every possible way they can. Checks, financial documents, ledgers, other witnesses, because they understand Michael Cohen is a rickety witness. He has major credibility problems. And what they want to be able to do is stand in front of the jury however many weeks from now and say, you don't have to take Michael Cohen's word at face value on any of this, because every important thing he said to you is backed up by some document or some other witness. That's the whole ballgame here, in my view.
There's also another gag order hearing scheduled for later this week.
Right. On Thursday, there's a gag order hearing for 4 new violations or alleged violations that prosecutors have already brought up. I mean, we could get a ruling on the initial gag order violations. Those were the 10 violations that were argued before the judge last week. In that case, the judge said that Trump's lawyers weren't really giving him anything to hang his hat on. He seemed really skeptical of their arguments why Trump didn't violate the gag order. So one thing we'll be looking for tomorrow is, does the judge rule on that before the hearing on Thursday, which is a separate set of statements?
One thing I find somewhat strange is that he hasn't ruled on the first set of alleged gag order violations yet, because, I mean, part of the reason you have a gag order is you want to stop any sort of bad behavior on the part of the people who were gagged. There is a good case that Trump has already violated it, but the judge hasn't ruled on it yet. Now it's like a perpetual motion machine. He keeps violating the gag order more, according to the prosecution, so they keep extending more hearings. There should be a ruling very soon.
Yeah, I'm mystified by this. I mean, I'm officially retired from the art of predicting when this judge is going to rule on this, because I think I've said every day it has to be today. And I think he's leaving the door open. I will say Judge Merchan's doing a good job so far. He's the kind of judge I would have liked to appear in front of as a prosecutor. He's keeping order and efficiency in that courtroom, but this is a blind spot for him. I don't get what the delay is.
In terms, I mean, is it likely Stormy Daniels will be called? Is it likely Karen McDougal would be called?
I think yes on both, probably. I think because they're necessary or helpful, let's say, not necessarily necessary, but helpful to the prosecution in sort of playing out this case and showing the jury who the human beings were here. But the thing to keep in mind, I'm really looking for, how is the defense going to cross-examine them? Because neither of them has testimony that goes to the heart of the crime. The heart of the crime, as Jeff was saying before, it's not the alleged affairs. It's not it's the hush money. It's not the National Enquirer. It's the way that those financial transactions were structured and accounted for. And an effective cross of Stormy Daniels and Karen McDougal, both of whom, I mean, you've met Anderson, I think seem likable and personable enough. An effective cross would just be to go, you don't have the first idea how these payments to you were accounted for in the books, do you? And they'll say no, and you go, that's it, fine.
But that would be an effective cross. I agree. But
They're not going to do it, but yeah.
They're not going to do it because the defense lawyers here have to please their client, and their client wants him to fight, his lawyers to fight on every issue, even if a short cross like that might be more effective.
Ellie Honig, Jeffrey Dubin, Kara Scannell, thanks so much.